Imagine him coming to tell you another story where he got so big and it was Bernie and them's fault because they wanted to be movie stars. What?
Comedians don't appreciate their jokes being stolen, and Steve Harvey has rubbed several comedians the wrong way. Well, it looks like Harvey has found himself in some trouble.
The same Steve that went to go watch Mark Curry do his whole sitcom and then stole everything Mark Curry had. Now Steve got a sitcom where he the principal and he wear a suit and he...
Steve Harvey might have finally met his match, and this time, it ain't a gossip blog or clickbait headline. It's Katt Williams, and when he talks, the whole internet stops scrolling and listens. This wasn't comedy, this wasn't jokes. This was straight up war on the mic. During his interview on Club Shay Shay with Shannon Sharpe, Katt didn't pull a single punch. No filter, no smiles, no setup for laughs, just cold, uncut truth. He dragged the comedy industry from top to bottom, calling out fake friends, shady backdoor deals, and comedians who made millions off material that wasn't even theirs. But when he said Steve Harvey's name, the whole room went silent. Katt looked dead at the camera and said, "You can't call yourself a king of comedy when your whole career is built on stealing from other comedians." Boom! That line hit like a thunderclap. No punchline, just impact. Within minutes, the clip went viral. Millions watched as social media lit up with clips, memes, and old receipts flying everywhere. But to understand why that moment shook the culture so deep, you gotta rewind the clock. Steve Harvey wasn't always that polished talk show host in fancy suits and smooth smiles. Nah, once upon a time, he was just another struggling stand-up comic living out his car, chasing stage time from city to city just to stay afloat.
This is like Steve Harvey telling people he used to be homeless. That's my story. That's not his story. Steve Harvey wasn't never homeless.
In the late 90s, his luck flipped when he joined the Kings of Comedy tour. A lineup so powerful it shifted the entire landscape. Bernie Mac, Cedric the Entertainer, D.L. Hewley, and Steve Harvey. 4 legends, 4 mics, 1 revolution in comedy. They packed arenas, made history, and became household names overnight. But Katt's claim hit where it hurt most. He said Steve didn't build that empire, he borrowed it. And in comedy, that's a deadly accusation. Stealing jokes is worse than breaking the code. It's breaking respect. Katt's not even the first to say it either. Years back, comedian Mark Curry, yeah, the same guy from Hanging with Mr. Cooper, came forward saying Steve Harvey straight up jacked his material. Mark said he flipped on the Steve Harvey show one day and nearly fell out his chair when he heard his own jokes, characters, and punchlines being performed word for word.
No Halloween costume.
I think we UPS, I guess. I don't know.
You've heard me say that every Halloween I had the same outfit on. I just had a brown box, and he just told me to tell everybody I was the UPS man.
My material on his show, so I had a beef on that. On what show? When he was on the bullshit talk show he had, and he did all my Halloween material one Halloween.
Says he knows that Steve Harvey stole his Halloween bit because it was a personal story. He was talking about himself growing up.
He said he tried confronting Steve about it, and what did Steve do? Just laughed and told him, "That's show business." Can you imagine that? Word for word theft brushed off like it was just part of the game.
You know, my thing with Steve Harvey is that he used my material on both his platforms.
Yeah.
After I talked to him, I saw him at Def Jam, I went up and talked to him, I said, "Man, you're using my material."
And that's exactly why Katt's bombshell hit so hard. Because for years, these whispers were brushed aside as comedian drama. But now, they're echoing louder than ever. That moment said everything. Every comedian watching knew exactly what Katt Williams was really exposing. It wasn't just inspiration anymore, it was accusation. Steve Harvey wasn't just borrowing ideas, he was allegedly snatching other people's shine and flipping it into his own fame. So when Katt brought this all back up, it wasn't some random jab, it was revenge, years in the making. Katt's been around too long to not know who's authentic and who's just playing the part. And when he dropped that line, "You can't preach about God on TV when you've been playing dirty behind the scenes," the internet went wild. That one hit deep because that's what people have been whispering for years. The difference between motivational Steve on camera and the industry Steve off it. The masks don't match. Fans have been side-eyeing him for years, but Katt just said it out loud. No fear, no filter. Let's be real, Steve Harvey's track record ain't squeaky clean. The man's been wrapped in controversy after controversy, and every time it somehow gets swept under the rug like it never happened. Remember that messy divorce? The rumors about infidelity? Or those wild leaked emails where Steve allegedly told his own staff, "Don't talk to me, don't approach me, don't look at me"? Who talks like that to their team? That doesn't sound like the smiling, soft-spoken TV host America wakes up to every morning. That sounds like a man protecting a throne. Katt didn't hold back. He said Steve's real gift wasn't comedy, it was manipulation. That's a dangerous word in Hollywood. He accused Steve of using religion and charm as armor, pretending to be humble and spiritual while moving shady behind the curtain. And here's where it got crazy. Katt came with receipts. He brought it all the way back to the Kings of Comedy days, the golden era that made them legends. Katt said Bernie Mac, not Steve, was the real people's king.
And that ain't the way comedy works. The king is the funniest. Period. Every time. And that's why no audience member was ever swayed. It didn't matter where Bernie went. You think if Bernie went first, he wasn't the king? Get out of here. Get out of here. Get your ego out of this. You let the best be the best, right?
Bernie was raw, fearless, hilarious, and authentic. He didn't play the game, he was the game. But according to Katt, Hollywood didn't want real. They wanted safe. And Steve fit the mold, polished, controllable, and perfect for daytime TV deals. That claim hit a nerve that's been buried for decades. Fans have always said Bernie deserved more flowers, more credit, more everything. Especially after his tragic passing, people noticed how quick Steve slid right into that king position. Like the crown was just waiting for him. Even D.L. Hewley once hinted there was tension between Bernie and Steve toward the end. He called it creative differences, but now Katt's words got fans rethinking everything. Maybe it wasn't creative at all, maybe it was competition. Maybe that so-called brotherhood wasn't as solid as it looked on stage. And if that's true, it changes everything. Katt didn't hold anything back, he went straight for the jugular. He said flat out that Steve Harvey used Bernie Mac's death as a way to rewrite comedy history. According to Katt, Steve didn't just mourn Bernie's loss, he capitalized on it. He painted Steve as a man who saw opportunity in tragedy, someone who took the spotlight and never once looked back.
And because you finally did it, because you didn't have no other choice, and now that he gone, you gonna act like he wanted to be a movie star. You stop it. You stop it. That man was funnier than all of y'all, and y'all thought y'all had one over on him. You thought he was black and ugly, and you were good looking, and he couldn't make it because you did.
That hit fans right in the chest, because Bernie Mac wasn't just a comedian, he was the heartbeat of realness. He stood for grit, honesty, and soul. Everything the comedy game used to be before it got polished and packaged for TV. So when Katt hinted that Steve might have built his rise off Bernie's fall, people got heated. It didn't sit right, not one bit. Then Katt came for Steve's entire TV image. The smiling talk show preacher, the relationship guru, the man selling advice to women on how to find good men. Katt tore that apart. He said, "How can you teach morals when your whole career's been built on taking from others?" He flat out called him a hypocrite. The same man preaching loyalty and faith while his own history was filled with betrayal and backdoor moves. The internet exploded. Clips of Katt's interview spread like wildfire across TikTok, X, formerly Twitter, and YouTube. Half the people called Katt bitter or jealous, but the other half, they were cheering him on, saying, "Finally, somebody said what we've all been thinking." And that's the thing. Katt wasn't hating, he was exposing. He said when the money started rolling in, Steve switched up. He went corporate. Suddenly, he wasn't the hungry comic from the trenches anymore. He was the polished brand, the Hollywood insider, too important to sit with the same comedians he once grinded beside. Katt said it plain, Steve ain't one of us anymore. He's a brand, and that line burned deep, because Steve built his entire career off being relatable, the regular dude who made it out the mud. But Katt flipped that story upside down, turning that humble beginnings narrative into something colder. A man who sold his soul for status and left behind the very culture that made him.
They pay you to not talk about things they don't want you to talk about. They tell you that themselves. I can't do that because I...
For years, Steve Harvey seemed untouchable. The funny uncle, the wise father figure, the success story that inspired millions. But after Katt's interview, that image cracked wide open. Fans started rewatching old interviews, replaying past shows, catching moments they'd ignored before. The fake laughs, the forced smiles, the subtle shade he threw at other comedians. It's like people suddenly realized maybe that warmth we saw on TV wasn't all real, maybe it was just part of the act. Once the internet starts connecting dots, it's over. No PR team, no publicist, no carefully written talk show monologue can fix that. The moment Katt Williams' interview started trending, social media erupted. Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, all on fire. People were calling for networks to drop Steve Harvey altogether, demanding accountability. Fans started comparing him to other talk show hosts who once looked untouchable, until their polished personas cracked and the truth came spilling out. But this time, it hit different. This wasn't just another messy headline or some Hollywood rumor mill. This was Katt Williams, a real one, a man who walked the same grind, standing on business and calling Steve out directly, labeling him a fraud. And that's why it hit so hard. For the first time in decades, people started asking the question nobody ever dared to. Was Steve Harvey's whole man of God, motivational king image just a mask? The backlash was wild. Timelines flooded with old clips, moments where Steve mocked guests, disrespected fellow comics, or threw slick shade with that same smile that once made him America's favorite uncle. Suddenly, that grin didn't look so comforting. It looked calculated. Fans started saying, "He's been acting this whole time. That's not kindness, that's ego dressed in a suit." Even behind the scenes, the panic started creeping in. Reports swirled that producers were getting nervous. Real nervous. Whispers spread that upcoming projects were under review. Networks didn't want to touch that controversy. Nobody wanted their name tied to a man the internet was now labeling a Hollywood phony. And while executives scrambled in boardrooms trying to figure out a way to do damage control, guess who was silent? Katt Williams. Not a single tweet, not a post, not an apology, just chilling, letting the chaos do the talking for him. The silence was louder than words. But to be fair, Steve Harvey's no stranger to public storms. He's weathered plenty before. Remember that Miss Universe fiasco when he announced the wrong winner on live TV? Or those leaked emails where he allegedly told his own staff not to look at him or approach him? Or the heat he caught after defending controversial celebrities when everyone else stayed quiet? Each time, Steve found a way to bounce back. The same formula every time. Big smile, talk about God's plan, sprinkle a few motivational quotes about perseverance and purpose, and move on like nothing happened. But this time feels different, because this time, the smoke isn't coming from tabloids. It's coming from inside the industry. And when one of comedy's most respected voices pulls the curtain back, no amount of charm can hide what's behind it. But this time, that old Steve Harvey playbook ain't working, because this time, it's not the media twisting headlines. It's someone from his own world saying, "You've been fake since day one." And that kind of shot hits different. When your peers, not tabloids, not bloggers, start calling out your character, that's not gossip anymore. That's truth from the inside. Fans went into full detective mode. Receipts started pouring in from everywhere. Old interviews, dusty clips, forgotten quotes, all getting dragged back into the light. Suddenly, moments that once seemed harmless started looking suspicious. People noticed the old clips from the original Kings of Comedy, where Bernie Mac looked uncomfortable standing next to Steve on stage. That so-called brotherhood suddenly looking more like quiet tension in hindsight. The smiles seemed forced, the chemistry off, like Bernie could feel something fake in the air even back then. Then Monique's legendary interview started trending again. The one where she said Steve Harvey straight up turned his back on her just to stay in Hollywood's good graces. She said Steve looked her dead in the eye and told her, "It's not about integrity. It's about the money game." That quote aged like gasoline on a fire.
In real time, was strong enough to go publicly and say, we can't throw our sister under the bus. All of y'all said privately, I've done nothing wrong.
When you tell the truth, you have to deal with the repercussions of the truth. We black out here. We can't come out here and do it any kind of way we want to. Listen, the money game. This ain't the black man's game. This ain't the white man's game. This is the money game.
But
we in the money game. And you cannot sacrifice yourself. The best thing you can do for poor people is not be one of them. You cannot help them.
We're in the money game, but let me tell you what the game is before the money game.
Like this.
Before the money game, it's called the integrity game. And we've lost the integrity worrying about the money.
But Mo,
wait a minute.
If I crumble, my children crumble, my grandchildren crumble. I cannot, for the sake of my integrity, stand up here and let everybody that's counting on me crumble so I can...
Back then, people brushed it off as typical Hollywood beef. But now, it's resurfaced like prophecy. Fans are connecting the dots, and every piece of what Katt said is being backed up with receipts in real time. Because what Katt did wasn't just a diss, it was a demolition. He didn't throw jokes, he tore down an entire brand. He called Steve Harvey a Hollywood puppet, said he'd been acting his whole life, literally and metaphorically. Then he took it even further, mocking Steve's biggest hit, Think Like a Man, saying, Steve been pretending his whole life, even his movies are lies. And what made that sting even more? Katt didn't even sound angry. He wasn't ranting or shouting, he was calm. Calm like a man who's been holding it in for years and finally decided to let it out. That's what made it dangerous. He wasn't clowning. He was confessing what the whole industry had been whispering. The crowd didn't laugh because it was funny. They laughed because it was true. That's the kind of honesty money can't spin, no PR can patch, and no network can silence. And ever since that interview dropped, Steve Harvey's silence has been deafening. This is a man who usually can't resist a camera, who loves a monologue, a speech, a viral sermon, but now, nothing. No talk show segment addressing it, no long post defending himself, not even a quote through a rep. The same man who built a career talking suddenly got nothing to say. And that silence is starting to sound like confirmation. Insiders say Steve Harvey is heated behind the scenes. Reports claim he's calling emergency meetings, snapping at his team, and demanding full-blown crisis management plans. He's trying to figure out how to flip the story before it completely burns down. But how do you fix something when people just don't believe you anymore? You can't PR your way out of the truth, not when the mask's already cracked. See, Katt didn't just bruise Steve's reputation, he shattered his credibility. And that's the one thing you can't buy back, no matter how much money, fame, or influence you've got. You can lose a show and get another one. You can lose fans and gain new ones. But once people stop believing your story, your legacy starts falling apart, piece by piece. And that's exactly what's happening now. Fans who used to post Steve's motivational quotes every morning are now dragging those same clips, calling them Hollywood sermons dressed up in Bible verses. The same words that once inspired people are now being clowned all over TikTok and YouTube as the biggest act in daytime TV. Even comedians who once showed him love are keeping their distance now. The vibe around his name has completely changed. It's not admiration anymore, it's suspicion. People are whispering instead of cheering. That warm uncle energy Steve had, gone, replaced with quiet doubt and side-eye glances across the industry. And here's the irony. Steve himself once warned about this exact situation. Years ago, in one of his own speeches, he said, if you live long enough, the truth about you will come out. Make sure you can live with it. Well, those words are haunting him now because that truth is finally here, loud and unfiltered. It's coming out through Katt Williams, through Monique, through old interviews, old footage, old memories resurfacing that people thought were forgotten. Every layer of that polished good man image is getting peeled back in real time. Steve used to preach about being real and about keeping faith and humility. But now, the question everybody's asking is, was any of it ever real? And here's what really blew people's minds. Katt didn't sound bitter or jealous. He sounded disappointed. He said, I respect real. Even if you don't like me, keep it real. But don't act holy when your whole career is built on hustle and hypocrisy. That one statement hit the internet like a gut punch. It wasn't loud, it wasn't messy, it was calm and cold, but it cut deep. Because it wasn't just about Steve anymore. Katt was talking to the whole industry. He was holding up a mirror to Hollywood, showing everyone what happens when fake success gets worshipped and real talent gets buried. The laughter stopped being funny. It turned into reflection. And for Steve, that's the scariest part. Because this isn't just a bad week. It's a reckoning years in the making. Now the ripple effect, it's insane. Steve Harvey's empire might still be standing. but you can feel it shaking. The talk shows, the game shows, the brand deals, everything's under pressure. Networks are watching quietly from the sidelines. Fans are debating in the comments, and comedians are side-eyeing from a distance like, we knew something was off. For years, Steve represented the dream, the man who came from nothing and turned struggle into success. But now people are asking the question that changes everything. At what cost? Because Katt Williams didn't just throw shots for clout, he cracked open a bigger conversation, one that cuts deep into Hollywood's soul. He exposed how this industry rewards image over integrity, how charm gets celebrated while realness gets silenced. This scandal didn't just call out Steve Harvey, it put the whole system under the microscope. And once the internet starts connecting dots, oh, it's a wrap. Because the internet never forgets. Receipts don't expire and they don't forgive either. Katt didn't come for jokes, he came for truth. And that's exactly why the world can't stop talking. From the outside, Steve's empire still looks shiny. The talk shows, the smiling interviews, the best-selling books, the big brand partnerships. But behind the scenes, cracks are showing everywhere. Networks are nervous, sponsors are holding emergency calls, and public trust, the same trust that built his entire brand, is fading fast. This isn't just another celebrity caught slipping headline. This feels like a full-blown reckoning. Because when someone like Katt Williams, a comedian who built his rep on truth-telling and authenticity, stands up in front of millions and calls you out by name, that's not just shade, that's surgery. Katt didn't just hit Steve where it hurts. He hit him where it counts, his credibility. And once credibility's gone, you can't fake it, you can't rebrand it, and no motivational speech can bring it back. What makes this even crazier is that for years, people treated Steve like comedy royalty, the man who beat the odds. From sleeping in his car to hosting primetime TV, from stand-up stages to bestsellers. He became a symbol of faith, grind, and redemption. The preacher comedian who could make you laugh and cry in the same breath. But now, that mask has been ripped clean off. Fans are looking at his old words of wisdom differently, wondering if they ever came from real experience or if it was all just smooth talk dressed up by a strong PR team. Because if Katt's right, if the real Steve was never the man we thought he was, then this isn't just a bad week for his image, it's the beginning of an unraveling. And this time, not even that famous smile can save him. Katt said it straight, no sugarcoating, no hesitation. Steve ain't one of us no more, he's a brand. And when you sit with that, he's right. The man who once represented every hustler grinding their way out the mud has turned into Hollywood's clean-cut poster boy, the safe face for family-friendly fame. But the higher he climbed, the less real he started to look. Fans online are saying the same thing. It feels like the whole illusion just shattered. Those emotional speeches, those God's plan sermons, all those viral motivational moments, they don't hit the same anymore. Now they look like performances, rehearsed, strategic, and perfectly packaged for ratings. Katt even dropped one of the coldest lines of the entire interview. God don't like ugly, but he sure got patience. That line went everywhere. Fans are quoting it in comments, turning it into captions, and remixing it into TikTok clips. Because it perfectly sums up this moment. Maybe the truth just took its time catching up, but now it's here. And that patience, it's finally run out. And here's the brutal truth. Once the internet turns on you, it's ruthless. Fans who used to defend Steve are now the same ones dragging him. People are posting side-by-side clips comparing his walk in faith monologues to the accusations flying around now. The hypocrisy's too loud to ignore. One viral post hit millions of views with the caption, "Steve built a career preaching integrity while playing Hollywood chess behind the curtain." And that one went viral for a reason. It hit too close to home. Because now, it feels like people woke up overnight and realized they'd been watching an act this whole time. But here's where Katt took it deeper. This wasn't just about Steve Harvey. Nah, Katt used Steve as a mirror to expose the whole system. He said Hollywood keeps rewarding the fake smiles, the polished personalities, the ones who play the game, while the real ones, the bold ones, the voices that speak truth, get buried. He said it clear. They don't want real. They want controllable. That hit hard because suddenly everyone started naming names. Bernie Mac, Monique, Katt himself, all the raw, unfiltered talents who spoke truth and paid the price for it. Katt flipped the entire narrative on its head. He wasn't just throwing shade, he was holding up a mirror to the entire entertainment machine, showing exactly how it picks favorites and punishes honesty. And Steve, he just happened to be the perfect example of Hollywood's double standard. The man who looked too perfect for too long.
They're all a group. Cedric, Steve, Ricky, they've been a group. Everybody knows that. They've been aligned. And there are these alliances in comedy. And if you stand against them, then they sometimes have a problem. But we don't let that change the content, because that's all you know me for, is that I'm quite likely to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God.
Now the internet's on fire with debates. Fans going back and forth in the comments saying things like, was Steve Harvey just another fallen idol? Or was he never real to begin with? The craziest part? No one knows the answer yet. But for the first time in decades, people aren't laughing with Steve Harvey. They're looking at him, trying to figure out who he really is behind that smile. Some people are still riding for Steve Harvey, saying he paid his dues, earned his spot, and deserves his flowers. But others, they're saying that charm was never real. It was a disguise for ambition, the kind that climbs fast and forgets who got left behind. And no matter which side you're on, one thing's crystal clear. That untouchable Uncle Steve image will never be the same again. You can feel the cultural shift happening in real time. People are tired of listening to celebrities preach about integrity and faith when they don't even live by their own words. The public doesn't want polished perfection anymore. They want realness. They want the unfiltered, the flawed, the honest. That's why Katt Williams' interview hit harder than any Hollywood scandal could. He didn't yell, he didn't chase clout, he just spoke the truth. And truth, man, it's got a way of sticking around, even when powerful people try to bury it under money, PR, and headlines. Behind the scenes, insiders say Steve's team is scrambling, canceling appearances, redrafting statements, and setting up emergency meetings to rebuild his image. Crisis mode has officially been activated. But here's the question. How do you fix something when the public already saw behind the curtain? Once people see the real you, there's no going back to the illusion. The silence from Steve isn't helping either, because every day he stays quiet, the internet starts to assume the worst. Fans are reading his silence as guilt, and the longer this drags out, the harder it'll be for him to ever earn that old trust back. At this point, the receipts are everywhere. There's screenshots, old clips, resurfaced interviews. The internet's got evidence, and they're not letting it go. It's not even about who's right or wrong anymore. It's about public perception. Because in today's world, the internet doesn't wait for explanations or apologies. Once you lose the crowd, it's game over. Katt Williams didn't just shake Steve Harvey's image, he shook the entire entertainment industry. He exposed something bigger, that even the most polished, powerful, protected stars can't hide forever. The truth don't care about your resume or your ratings. And the wildest part? Katt didn't have to scream or drag it out. He let the truth breathe. And it spread faster than any scandal ever could. Because that's the thing about truth. It's got no expiration date. It might take time, it might move slow, but eventually it shows up. Loud, clear, and undeniable. And maybe that's the real message in all this. It's not about tearing down legends, it's about reminding people that fame doesn't equal honesty. You can have the biggest platform, the brightest smile, the most powerful network behind you, but the truth, it always finds your address. No matter how high you climb, it'll knock on your door one day. And this time, it looks like Steve just had to open it. Steve Harvey's empire might still stand, but that shine, it's gone for good. His image will never be spotless again. The beloved mentor, the motivational father figure, the man who told millions how to live right, that version of Steve doesn't exist anymore. Now he's just another public figure, caught up in his own contradictions, facing the same judgment he used to preach about. Katt Williams didn't destroy Steve Harvey. He exposed him. He didn't have to shout, threaten, or even go viral on purpose. All he did was speak what everyone else was too scared to say. And now, the world's looking at both men differently. One's gone silent, scrambling behind the scenes, calling meetings, trying to fix a legacy that's cracking under pressure. The other's sitting calm, knowing he just said what needed to be said. And the truth is, doing the rest. No matter how this plays out, this moment already changed everything. It changed comedy, it changed Hollywood, it changed how fans look at their so-called heroes. The curtain's been pulled back, and now everybody's seeing who's been performing and who's been real. So now the question is Can Steve Harvey really bounce back from this? Can he rebuild the trust, the image, the empire he spent decades crafting? Or did Katt Williams just pull off the biggest exposure of the year? One so raw, so real, that no amount of PR can erase it? So here we are. The empire's still standing, but the glow's long gone. Steve Harvey's built his career preaching faith, loyalty, and truth, but when the mask cracks, the sermon starts sounding different. The world's watching now. Not to laugh, not to clap, but to see what's real and what's been performance all along. Katt Williams didn't need a stage or applause to shake the room. All he needed was truth. He didn't ruin Steve Harvey. He revealed him. And that revelation flipped Hollywood upside down. Fans ain't looking at Uncle Steve the same anymore. That soft-spoken mentor vibe, gone. Now he's just another name caught in the storm he once warned others about. Because let's be honest, every legend gets tested, but not every legend survives the truth, the silence, the damage control, the rumors. None of that can outshine what's already been seen. The internet's got receipts, and once the crowd decides you're fake, no speech can save you. This wasn't just a clash between two comedians, it was a culture shift. A real versus fake moment that exposed how Hollywood protects smiles while punishing honesty. Katt didn't just speak for himself, he spoke for every artist who got pushed aside for refusing to play the game. So now we gotta ask, can Steve Harvey really rise from this? Or did Katt Williams just close a chapter that'll be studied for years to come? Either way, the industry won't be the same after this one. Because in the end, the truth don't fade, it echoes. This is BarzBuzz, where the mic don't lie and the stories hit harder than the headlines. Subscribe, stay locked in, and catch the next drop. Cause this saga is just getting started. If this saga had you shook, wait till you see what's next. You already know what it is. BarzBuzz got the real, raw, and unfiltered breakdowns. So don't forget to like, subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with someone who needs to catch up.